Washington, D.C., September 9th, 2025. The streets of Washington, D.C., usually the backdrop of routine political maneuvering, became the stage for one of President Donald Trump's rare unscripted appearances. On this day, he stepped out of his motorcade and strolled toward reporters outside Joe's Seafood, Prime Steak and Stone Crab, a restaurant just a few blocks from the White House. Cameras tracked his every step, as did the questions that followed him into the night. The occasion might have seemed casual, a presidential dinner with cabinet members in the Capitol, but the timing could not have been more charged. Hours earlier, Israel had launched strikes inside Doha, Qatar, targeting what it claimed were Hamas strongholds. The move rattled regional politics and reverberated back to Washington, where the White House was pressed for answers on whether the US had prior knowledge or consented to the action. When pressed by reporters, the president did not hide his dissatisfaction with Israel's actions. Donald Trump said, "Well, I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about it." As the questions continued, Trump expanded his remarks, making it clear that he found the events of the day troubling. He said, "I don't have to do that. I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. It's not a good situation. But I will say this, we want the hostages back, but we are not thrilled about the way that went down today." Those words carried weight. While Trump has long positioned himself as one of Israel's strongest allies, the directness of his comment marked a rare public rebuke. The emphasis on hostages also hinted at the broader complexity: negotiations, back channels, and human lives hanging in the balance. The Middle East is not the only region testing US diplomacy. When asked about ongoing negotiations with Russia and the war in Ukraine, Trump acknowledged the burden of multiple conflicts running in parallel. Donald Trump said, "We have that one, Russia, Ukraine, and we have Gaza going on. We want to get them both solved," and ended. Reporters pressed further on whether direct contact with Russian President Vladimir Putin was imminent. The president appeared confident. He said, "I think so. I think this week or early next week." Such remarks underline the unusual moment in American foreign policy. The administration is juggling two wars, both involving entrenched adversaries and both demanding urgent solutions. Yet the president framed it with a casual certainty, suggesting optimism about quick progress where years of negotiations have stalled. If the foreign policy questions were uncomfortable, another matter risked becoming outright embarrassing. Just a day earlier, an alleged letter surfaced in the press, purportedly signed by Trump and addressed to Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier, whose name remains a flashpoint of scandal. The president did not mince words in dismissing it. Donald Trump said, "It's not my signature and it's not the way I speak. And anybody that's covered me for a long time know that's not my language. It's nonsense. And frankly, you're wasting your time." The denial was unequivocal. By rejecting the letter's authenticity outright, Trump sought to quash speculation before it could gain momentum. His tone, sharp and dismissive, was calculated to shift focus back to issues of statecraft. But the president was not content to let the night end on notes of geopolitical conflict or personal scandal. Instead, he pivoted to a theme he has frequently revisited: law and order. Standing in the open air of downtown D.C., he gestured to the streets around him. Donald Trump said, "We're standing right in the middle of D.C., which, as you know, over the last year was a very unsafe place. Over the last 20 years, actually, it was very unsafe. And now it's got virtually no crime. We call it crime-free. We're going to be announcing another city that we're going to very shortly. We're working it out. The governor of a certain state would love us to be there, and the mayor of a certain city in that same state would love us to be there. We'll announce it probably tomorrow." The claim of virtually no crime is a bold one, and one that reflects Trump's narrative of restoring safety to American cities through aggressive federal measures, often involving the deployment of the National Guard. Moments later, he reinforced that point with even more praise for the transformation of the Capitol. Donald Trump said, "This was one of the most unsafe cities in the country. Now it's as safe as there is in the country. So we're here with cabinet members having dinner. And everybody should go out. The restaurants now are booming. People are walking. The restaurants now are booming. People are going out to dinner where they didn't go out for years, and it's a safe city." And I just want to thank the National Guard in Trump's framing. The rebirth of Washington as a safe and thriving city was not only proof of his policies, but also a model he intends to replicate elsewhere. His words hinted at future federal-local partnerships, perhaps even new deployments to states eager for the same results. Trump's rare walkabout and impromptu press exchange reflected the multiple overlapping layers of his presidency at this juncture. Foreign policy pressure. Israel's strike in Doha exposed fault lines in US-Israeli relations. By saying he was not thrilled, Trump signaled discomfort without openly condemning a close ally. At the same time, his emphasis on hostages underscored Washington's leverage in humanitarian negotiations, geopolitical balancing. With crises in both Gaza and Ukraine, Trump attempted to project calm authority, promising imminent calls with Putin and framing solutions as within reach. The casual "this week or early next week" remark conveyed confidence but raised questions about the depth of planning. Domestic security. By celebrating a crime-free Washington, the president shifted from global instability to local stability, drawing a contrast that serves both political messaging and his broader re-election narrative: scandal management. The Epstein letter, potentially damaging if left unchecked, was dismissed firmly. Trump's denial sought to insulate him from association with one of America's most toxic scandals. What made the scene striking was its informality. Unlike carefully managed White House press briefings, this was the president on the street, walking toward a restaurant, taking questions almost offhandedly. The optics, a leader stepping casually into public view amid global crises, were both unusual and deliberate. For supporters, it was a reminder of Trump's unfiltered accessibility. For critics, it raised questions about whether complex issues like Middle East diplomacy and great power negotiations were being treated with the gravity they demand. But whatever one's view, the president's words became the night's headline. His description of Israel's strike in Doha as something that left him not thrilled captured a rare tension between Washington and Jerusalem. His assurance that calls with Putin were imminent kept attention fixed on Ukraine. His sweeping claims about crime in D.C. provided a domestic victory lap, and his outright dismissal of the Epstein letter sought to close the door on a potential scandal. As the night drew on and Trump stepped into Joe's Seafood with cabinet members at his side, the questions did not stop echoing. How would Israel interpret the president's dissatisfaction? Would Hamas respond to Washington's emphasis on hostage recovery? Could talks with Putin produce a breakthrough in Ukraine? And would Trump's narrative of safer cities resonate with voters as strongly as his critics questioned its accuracy? For now, Trump has positioned himself at the center of multiple storms, answering with a mixture of blunt quotes, optimism, and self-congratulation. Whether those answers hold in the days ahead remains to be seen.